And we're live.
Hi everybody! Welcome back to our third of 5 videos for the Pocahontas Chamber of Commerce Legacy Series. The reason there's 5 is there's 5 Wednesdays in September, and it just so happened that we chose that month this year to do the Legacy Series. So thank you, Parker, for the opportunity. Today we are going to be featuring some of our garden vegetables. So if you can see, we have some butternut squash and peppers and onions. We also tried to grow sweet potatoes for the first time this year, and we harvested them last week, right? Last week, I think because, you know, a little cold wave came through and we're like, okay, we've got to get them out. They don't really like temperatures below, I don't know, 50 degrees maybe. So we got them out of the ground. Well, this is about as big as we got for our sweet potatoes, which is a bummer. We probably could have left them in, but good news is we have a good agricultural system. We can go to the store or the farmer's market and get some from others who have grown them. So that's what we did, and that's what we're featuring today is some sweet potatoes. I'm also going to be using some onions and peppers from our garden. So what we're doing today is we're actually making our lunch right now, but this is also a really good way to batch cook some recipes. So if you have a family or if you yourself are busy and you don't want to cook every night or you don't want to prepare your lunch every morning, this is a really good recipe to make a whole bunch of food. So what we're doing is probably about 4 servings, and you can modify based on the needs that you have. So we're making like a loaded sweet potato. We do have potatoes from our garden. They're actually in storage right now, and we really like sweet potatoes. Not necessarily better, but we like loaded sweet potatoes better, so that's what I'm showing you. But if you don't like sweet potatoes, one, try them, roast them, they're really good that way. But otherwise just use a different potato if that's what you would prefer. So we have sweet potatoes, which are in the oven, which I will show you when they're ready. And then I'm gonna make barbecue baked beans to put on the sweet potato, but this recipe is so customizable. So if you don't like barbecue, if you don't want baked beans on your sweet potato, you could do something like buffalo chickpeas, or you could do a bean with like marinara sauce, or one of our favorites is like black beans and salsa and jalapenos and onion and corn, more of like a Mexican style sweet potato. It's really good, but yeah, today we're gonna do barbecue, so that's what I'll show you. So to get started, I'm actually gonna turn on the water because we're gonna use the pan to saute a little bit, and then the other part of what I'm going to do is it's good to have some sort of vegetable. So if you have a canvas of a potato, or you could use rice or pasta, whatever you'd like, some sort of starch. And then we're using beans. We like beans or lentils, something like that. And then vegetables. I would say anywhere from 1 to 4 vegetables just to think about. And you can do, I would say, to make things more simple for you when you're batch cooking, is to do like one cooking method. So if it's steaming, or if it's roasting, or if it's sauteing, I'm kind of doing all 3 of them just to show you what that might look like. But it would be easy to just simplify it, and so I'm roasting sweet potatoes. If you wanted vegetables with your bowl or with your loaded sweet potato, you could roast cauliflower or roast some other vegetable. What other vegetables get roasted? Peppers and Avery, what are your favorite roasted vegetables? Do you have any?
Broccoli, carrots. I don't know if roasting is my go-to.
What is?
Roasting's not really my go-to
Roasting.
for vegetables.
What is your favorite way of eating vegetables?
I don't know. Maybe it is roasting.
Whatever way I make that. Yeah. Okay, so to get started, I turn on the water to start heating that up, water to steam, and then just a hot pan to saute. So I am preparing an onion here. I should back up one step. This onion is from the garden. So what I did is I chopped it off this way, right? I just cut it like this, and then I had 2 onion halves, or I had 1 onion. And then set it down and I cut it right in half. I kind of got ahead of myself and thought, oh, this might be, Avery mentioned that this might be helpful to demo. So then once you've cut it in half, you peel off the skin here. And sometimes you have to get a little bit of extra because it has this brown skin on it. So anyway, take that off. And then this is gonna go with some beans. So I'm gonna make it kind of a fine dice. And so you don't cut off the root end because that's what holds it intact. So what we're gonna do is make cuts along toward the root end all the way down. And if it's not perfect, that's okay, especially if it's getting mixed in with other things. This is something that you can just do kind of quickly. Apologies if this is loud. And then if you want to, if your onion's big enough, you can also be very careful, cut this way just to make it smaller. So again, it's important to keep your fingernails under, kind of like a little crab. Keep your fingernails tucked so you're not chopping them like you would your vegetable. So keep
This
them.
is a great way to test if your knife is sharp enough. Lauren's being a little bit resistant, so you can see her knife needs to be sharpened.
It does need to be sharpened. I have a sharpener, I could do that, but it takes a little bit of time, and I'll do that eventually. So then we're just going to cut this way. See, look at this, not as much resistance this way. But then go opposite of the lines that you just cut to make your little dices. I'm going to do the same thing with this. And then I will show you next, and oh, see that was not perfect. Sometimes you have to go in and do a little bit of surgery on them if you made some uneven, but there's a little onion. And then I'll chop our bell pepper really fast. So I cut the top off like this, and then I'll end up using the round side. And then I just cut down the sides. Cut all the way around the ribs, and it's okay. I mean, this is a sweet bell pepper, so it's really, the seeds aren't spicy, but still be careful that you don't touch your eyes or your face once you touch the bell pepper. And sometimes you just kind of have to tear, right? Like, I don't really want the spine very much. Well, that part's probably okay. And we have a compost, but we also make stock out of the scraps, so I'll save those for some stock. But then slice your bell pepper into little thin strips. And then we'll go the opposite way again, just like our onions. So kind of gather them. Now this is the important part of really keeping your fingers tucked when you have all these vegetables to hold in place. So just chop them kind of as finely as you want. Okay, there's that. Then I'll just do that with the rest. Now this is so nice because once you've done this prep, you know, if you don't have the time, say you wanted to make this recipe tomorrow night, but you didn't have the time right when you got home to chop your vegetables, see if you can find time earlier in the week or on the weekend to chop these and then just throw it together. So you could chop these vegetables, leave them in your refrigerator, and then just throw them out when you're ready the night that you're making your meal, and that would work just fine too. It doesn't all have, oh, I missed one, that's okay. It doesn't all have to be done at the same time. So now that we've got that, we're going to saute these vegetables. So I don't use any oil when I saute. I just have a dry pan here that I'm going to add my vegetables to. And mine is on like a medium-low heat. So I'm going to use my bench scraper to kind of gather this. This is good, better to use than your knife because one, if you do it with your knife, you'll dull it, but you're also putting yourself at risk of cutting yourself. So I'm just going to throw these in here. Carefully. Oops, one might have just fallen by the fire. Might get a little roasted pepper from that flame, that's okay. So, because vegetables have such a high water content, they will release their own moisture as I saute them. The reason we don't use oil is because it is, one, a very highly refined product, right? Oil is the most refined processed ingredient that we have on the planet, really. And it's also just 100% pure fat, and some of the benefits that people claim are not as good. It's actually damaging to our arteries to use oil, and it's, you know, 1 tablespoon adds a lot of calories. So we do not use oil, and we just saute without it. If things really start to stick, you can add water, but otherwise just let them go. That might be a little bit loud, that's okay. So as that is sauteing a little bit, I'm heating up my water to a boil. This is loud. I'm gonna wait a second. Once the water releases from the vegetables, it'll quiet down. There, that's better already. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm bringing my water over here to a boil to steam the broccoli. So I just have a little silicone steamer basket. There's metal ones. You could just throw the broccoli right into the water instead of putting it into a basket to steam, but more of the nutrients will get lost in the water if you just throw them directly in. So if you have a basket, that's great. Again, you can roast it instead. You could just put the broccoli on your sweet potato raw, and that's totally fine. But what we're gonna do is steam it. So what you should do is load your steamer basket before you put it into the hot pan, because the steam could burn yourself really quickly. So I'm just gonna load the broccoli. And you can use as much as you want. If you're feeding a whole family, you might need a lot of broccoli. If you're just feeding yourself, maybe this 1 serving will do. But I'm gonna just see how much I can get out of here to steam for us. Okay. I might just finish the bag, but let's see. So then I'm just going to pick this up, and the water is to a boil, so I'm just going to stick it right in there. Maybe. Got it a little crooked. There we go. And then you just have to put the lid on, and broccoli steams really, really quickly. So that's just going to take 1 or 2 minutes. Now while that goes, I'm going to check my onions and peppers and see if they're softened. Now I'm going to show you something here. And I want to show you how caramelized your vegetable. Can you see can you see the browning? So that is without oil, right? My vegetables, this is literally just the liquid from my vegetables have created that caramelization. So I might actually add just a pinch of water to pick up some of the caramelization. I usually keep my water bottle on hand, but I don't have it, so we're just going to use my hand like this. Oh yeah. And it picked up the vegetables. So, to keep on with the barbecue baked beans, all I'm going to do is add beans and barbecue sauce and let it warm up, and that will be our barbecue baked beans. So, I have 3 cups of pinto beans here, which is about 2 cans. White beans would be really good, like a Great Northern bean or even navy beans, whatever you have on hand. Again, like we said, I've even used black beans for this recipe, and that worked out just fine. So, I made these myself, so that's why they're in this container instead of in a can. If you buy a can instead, just strain and rinse them well. And Woods has all of these ingredients again, so if you'd like to make it, you can swing by there and pick up the ingredients that you don't have. Okay, now barbecue sauce. You can use your favorite barbecue sauce. We prefer ones that don't have like the high fructose corn syrup, just again because that is another highly processed ingredient, okay? So look for ones that you like, but just be mindful of some of the additives and things that are in there. So I would say for this recipe, you're probably going to need about 2 cups. Depends on the size of your bottle. That one's about gone. I'll have to get a little bit more out of it. But use about 2 cups, or really whatever you like. If you really like saucy beans, add more sauce. If you don't like them as saucy, then do less. So I'm just stirring in the barbecue sauce, and another ingredient that we are going to add that we really like, I actually need some more barbecue sauce, hold on that thought. But one other ingredient that we are going to add is liquid smoke. So that just adds another smoky flavor. If your barbecue sauce is already pretty smoky, you don't need to add that, but we really like it just because it adds a little bit more depth of flavor. Oh yeah. So really all you have to do then is stir it up until it's hot. But I'm just going to add about a teaspoon of liquid smoke and stir that in. Again, if you don't have it, that's okay. It might not be an addition that you want anyway, but give it a try. If you like an additional smoky flavor, you could also try smoked paprika, and that would be nice. I should also say you don't need the vegetables in this bean recipe. You could just put some beans in a pot with barbecue sauce and call it good. And even eating that with some rice or just on a potato would be really, really good. So while that comes together, I'm going to check my broccoli, and then we're going to assemble, because that's really all there is to it. The broccoli is bright green, so that's a good sign. I think it is probably ready. Okay, now I'm going to get my sweet potatoes out of the oven. So what I did is I put the sweet potatoes in the oven at 400 degrees for about 1 hour. It depends on the size. Now these little guys, they would take probably 15 minutes. But the big ones that we bought took a little bit longer. And you'll know they're ready if you stab them with a fork, but as you'll also see here in a minute, the juices start to run out, which is actually quite, here, I'm going to do it this way, is actually quite delicious. Sweet potatoes are so sweet on their own and caramelized, so when you roast them, you'll see, if I pick this up with a fork, maybe I should show you that. If you pick up this like caramely stuff with it, is literally like caramel, so it is so, so good. Now this is part of a butternut squash that was in the fridge that we made a cheese sauce actually out of the butternut squash, and I had some left over, so I just chose to roast it. And that was a good way, I think, to use it up. So we might actually fill that with beans and eat it like a loaded squash. So what I'm going to do is assemble now just our lunch. And this is what we would have either for a lunch or a dinner. Oh, this is hot, so be careful. Do you see all these like caramelized strings? It's kind of like candy. If you've seen bakers use that type of making their own caramel, it gets really stringy, and that's what this does. So when your sweet potatoes ready, and your beans are ready, and your broccoli's ready, or whatever vegetable you're using, you can go ahead and turn all of the heat off and cut your sweet potato open. Now, this is just gonna be our lunch tomorrow, so I'm preparing it right now. So we open it. We haven't had sweet potatoes since winter, right? When they were really more in season, and so we're excited for this. Right, Avery?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so we just got a bright orange sweet potato. I'm gonna add beans to it. What is this one? So you can see here the barbecue baked beans. Now they were plenty hot just because it was on medium. Now if I wanted to absorb the flavors a little bit more, I could probably heat it, but I think it's ready. So I'm gonna load up our sweet potato. Oh, I'm so excited for this lunch. Okay, that'll be enough. You can add more if you're really hungry. Beans are full of fiber. They'll keep you full for a long time, but half cup to a cup is about a serving size. And then, use this one. Then I'm gonna add some broccoli. Now, this is just plain steamed broccoli. The barbecue sauce is pretty potent in flavor, but if you wanted to put some garlic, salt, and pepper on here, or even, soy sauce might not be very good with the barbecue sauce, but you could do soy sauce. You could do like bagel seasoning, hot sauce, sriracha. Can you think of any others, Avery, that you would add to broccoli?
Not something I had, not right now.
We do have a homemade ranch in the
good.
fridge. Ranch would be really good, and on the barbecue sauce, maybe that. Or cheese
sauce.
Yes. Okay, anyway, I think that's about it. You can see what I'm doing there. So this is a really good way, like I said, make a whole bunch of sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, whatever you like, put them in the oven for 400 degrees for about an hour, check on them. You just have to, you wash them, stab them with a fork before you put them in the oven, and then when they come out, stab them with a fork again to see if they're done, and it should go straight through. See, it just comes just like that, and that's when they're ready. And then make a vegetable, make a bean, add a sauce, do whatever you'd like, and you have a good lunch or dinner for many meals ahead. So I hope you'll give it a try. Stay tuned next week. We'll make a white bean chili. Thanks, everybody. Bye.